And in this episode of the Happy Hustle podcast, we have on Mr. Ryan Blaser, and he is talking to us all about how you can optimize your health through your environment. And we talk about in this episode EMFs, we're talking about mold, we're talking about your air quality, your chemicals, the water that you drink, all of these different things that actually affect your health and potentially are limiting your performance. Do you want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Kerry Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model / actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco-warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality. What is up, you beautiful happy hustlers? Today I have on Ryan Blaser. Ryan, welcome to the Happy Hustle podcast, my brother.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited about this one. This is going to be a very important and impactful, power-packed episode because Ryan is an electrical engineer. He's a certified building biologist, environmental consultant, and electromagnetic radiation specialist. And he's the founder of Test My Home, which is all about healthy building solutions and how you can really optimize your environment for maximum productivity and health. And today we're going to talk about some of the things that maybe you are actually experiencing, unbeknownst to you, that may be hindering your performance and actually hurting your overall health for you and your family. So I'm really, passionate about this topic. I'll get into my story, but this is something that has plagued my family and my life. Talking about mold, we're talking about EMFs and 5G and all these different things that are not serving us. So I really want to leverage Ryan's expertise on this episode. But before we get into all that good stuff, Ryan, what is something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
So I'm actually a pilot. I love flying airplanes. Owned a couple airplanes, and that's something I do for fun. Love getting up in the sky, looking at stuff, traveling around. It's great. Something exhilarating about it.
Oh, I love it, man. I got to come flying with you sometime because I really want to get my pilot's license. That's actually on my goal list in the near future. I've been looking at different schools to go through. Did you buy your own plane first and then use your plane to gain the hours, or did you go through a system?
So my dad was a bush pilot up in Alaska, so I kind of grew up flying a lot, and so I kind of knew how to fly before I could drive. And I just kind of got into flying, and I got an ultralight and got flying, and I actually flew around for probably about 8 or 9 years without even a license. And I can say this now because I actually got caught for that and got in trouble.
Oh, geez.
I had an engine out. We had to land in the field, and the plane flipped over, and I walked away. Everything was fine, but the FAA came, NTSB, and a bunch of people, they weren't too happy about that. But I'm all licensed up and legal now.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Flying without a license, casual. This is going to be a good one, Ryan. Let's dive in. I always like to start things off with a bang. First and foremost, for all the happy hustlers out there, just like do a cautionary warning of like the biggest toxins that are plaguing our home environments right now.
I'd say the biggest one and probably the most controversial is EMF. And that's also the one that affects me the most because it's just getting worse and worse. There's so much more technology in the office, in our homes, in our cars. We're constantly surrounded and we never get away from it. Unless you're like you, or you go up in the mountains and spend a week up there once in a while, but not very many people do that. Other than that, we're surrounded by EMF all the time. So second to EMF would be mold. Mold is that's the real pandemic of our time right now is mold. It causes a lot of health issues with people. Then third, I would say chemical usage. People are using a lot of toxic chemicals these days. The beauty products, healthcare products, cleaning supplies, you name it. There's just so many toxic chemicals that are getting into our bodies. So those three things, and then of course after that's air quality. But those four are the biggest ones I see on a regular basis affecting people.
Wow. Yeah. And what's crazy is like people subconsciously can feel the effects of 5G and electromagnetic frequencies, right? this radiation that our devices emit, but just explain the science, just, on a chemical internal, DNA level. What is happening when we are getting exposed to that EMF and the 5G?
Yeah, so there's a couple things going on with the body. One, we were evolved and developed on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years without any kind of unnatural EMF, the electric fields, the alternating magnetic fields, the radio frequencies. So our bodies are attuned to just the static field of the Earth, the north-south pole, the sun going up and down, the light. That's what our bodies are used to. Now, in the last 100 years, we've changed that cycle completely with artificial light, with wireless technology, with electrifying the planet, with magnetic motors, with alternating current. So all these things interact with the body differently. So magnetic is probably one of the most dangerous ones. We have iron in our blood, in our hemoglobin, that can interact with magnetic energy. And so these alternating magnetic fields that comes from the wiring grid is pulsing and vibrating the iron in our blood. So literally vibrating in the brain, in the heart, in the cell, causing low-level inflammation. The radio frequency, the signals that come from the cell phone, the Bluetooth, the Wi-Fi router, high-frequency vibration, those going right through the brain. Our brain is communicating with these little frequencies and electrical impulses. And so when we get these artificial frequencies coming through the brain, it interacts with what's going on. It's like if we were trying to have this conversation and there were 100 people in the room partying, screaming, hollering, it would be really hard for us to communicate. The same thing is happening in the brain, which is the main attributor to brain fog, memory, cognition issues. And then we also have the cellular part of it, the detox part. There's little ion channels on the cell that lets waste in and nutrients in and out. And when we have these electrical impulses, those cells will kind of tighten up and freeze up, and it won't let the waste out and it won't let the nutrients in as very easily. And so we get a lot of cellular damage, a lot of aging type of issues. So those are the three main mechanisms how EMF really affects the body.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, you heard it here, guys. Like, there is something happening when you are sitting at your computer with your Wi-Fi router right next to you, or, listening to your Bluetooth headphones. And I do believe there's people who are more sensitive than others to EMFs and 5G. This is something that is really plaguing our time. Everyone is so hyper-connected. I mean, you have to mitigate your exposure, and we're going to get into the solution, to these four main contributors to, our health and what's detrimental ultimately. But you mentioned EMFs and the problems it causes. Let's talk about mold. Talk about the problem. What's happening, when you are exposed to mold?
Yeah, and the reason, mold's been around on the planet forever. It's what breaks down things. It's an important part of the ecosystem. But when we have these homes that are so airtight and we don't have the airflow coming in and out of them, we have these buildup in the home with moisture, we have toxins and off-gassing, and we have mold that's growing. And these mycotoxins that get produced from the mold can bioaccumulate in the environment. Then we can breathe these in, and they're literal poisons. They're toxins. And in fact, nerve gas and some of these biochemical warfare agents were developed from some of these mycotoxins from the mold, the black mold specifically. And so when these build up in our environment and we don't get that fresh air that's flushing it out, we get mold issues. Also, a lot of our homes are so airtight in like a plastic bag with the vapor lock and everything. The moisture in there gets trapped in the walls, mold gets growing, it's releasing all these mycotoxins into the air. You don't even know that it's there. It's hidden behind the wall, but you got this toxic soup that you're breathing it in every day, and it's making people sick.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I have to tell this story just because this is something really personal that has been a part of my life since I can remember. My mom is actually allergic to mold, and she had a toxic mold exposure when I was a child that was basically poisoned her and made her extremely sensitive. And it was from a roof leak, truly. Like, we had black mold and all these mycotoxins that just got into her cellular system. Due to that mold allergy and that toxicity, we moved 24 different times before the age of 18 to 24 different houses in locations and apartments and all these different places, because we would move into a place. She would test it with, plates and all these things, different like ways to test it. But unfortunately, the tests just weren't that accurate back then, and which will lead into Test My Home and Ryan's company. But this was something that has really plagued, my childhood. It was constantly, and she got such bad brain fog. She got such you almost get like that Mad Hatter's disease, kind of where you just can't think right. You have all this heavy metal poisoning. And a lot of heavy metals actually cause people, like when you look at someone's mouth, especially from like the 40s, 50s, 60s, like heavy metal poisoning from like caps on your teeth, from when you have cavities, this stuff leaks into your bloodstream and actually causes you to have negative like chemical reactions, and as does mold. And this was something that I know is an issue that's plaguing a lot of people, and they just don't know it. I mean, what would you say is the percentage of people, let's say America, who are low-key experiencing mold toxicity and don't even know it?
I would say at some level, 70% of people are affected by mold. Maybe even more than that. Yep.
Wow,
and you don't have to be dying over sick in the corner to be affected from mold. It could be just low-level fatigue. It could be low-level brain fog. You could just not be reaching your peak potential because you have this low-lying microdose of these mycotoxins going on.
Wow. And that's, truly, and that's what the Happy Hustle is all about. Like happy hustling a life that you absolutely love, and sure, making money and a positive impact, but you cannot do that if you're not taking care of your health, if you're not taking care of your home. And that's why I love talking to experts like Ryan, because there's these little things in life that make a massive impact over time. Sure, you might not feel the mold one day, 1 week, maybe even 1 year, but over time, chronically, if you're exposed, you will feel the effects and things will develop. And that's why it's really important to be proactive rather than reactive. Now, we talked about EMFs, we talked about mold. Let's talk about chemicals. Tell us, what's happening when we put on those fake moisturizers, or that hair product that leaks in those chemicals, or that deodorant that has the aluminum. Tell us what the heck's going on with all these chemicals.
A lot of those are endocrine disruptors, they're hormone disruptors. And I was just talking to a friend of mine that does hormone therapy, was saying that 90% of males right now are way, way below the normal level of where we should be like 100 years ago. And because a lot of the plastics and the phthalates and the chemicals are getting into the bloodstream, they're mimicking these hormones, they're messing up the receptors, and everybody has this low testosterone, and we're seeing it across the board in men and women. And now everybody's got a supplement to bring it back up. You're trying to get that energy, that boost back. And these chemicals are really messing with that. I mean, that's a big one as far as, we're concerned as guys, but even the females as well, it affects them too. And so it's really important to make sure we're using these natural products in our home and not introducing chemicals into our environment.
Yeah, so true. I know my wife, Steph, is very adamant on using all natural products and all natural cleaners and all natural items that not only we ingest, but our pets and our family and our friends, especially when it comes to food sources, when it comes to beauty products. Like, spend a little extra, get the shit that doesn't have the shit. It's super technical, but that's the damn truth, right? You gotta really look at the ingredients list, and there's certain products that are just chock full of chemicals. A lot of the bigger brands, not naming any names, but if you actually look at Procter & Gamble and some of those Johnson & Johnson, those things are just chock full of harmful ingredients because they're cheap to produce, right? So if you want to protect your family and your friends and your loved ones, you have to be a conscious consumer. Vote with your dollars. Support B corporations and companies that aren't testing on animals, that have sustainable supply chains and also have solid ingredients. This is really, powerful stuff, Ryan. I do want to talk about air, which was the fourth, massive contributor to our overall health and tell us, what poor air quality does to the body.
So a couple things. Air quality is a pretty broad range, but the biggest one we see in people's homes is high CO2 levels. Since everything's all locked up and airtight, we're not getting the fresh air in them. Unless you have an HRV or fresh air ventilation system come in your house, or you're consciously opening the windows regularly, your CO2 levels are probably pretty high. And I just did a home yesterday where it was 3 times the safe limit inside the home, and they had fatigue and they had headaches. They didn't even think about just opening their doors and windows, getting fresh air, and they had 6 kids in their family, all running around breathing, and a dog, and that's one. But we got particulates that build up. When we analyze dust and see what's in dust, the majority of it's dead skin cells. Then we have insect parts and insect feces. We have dust mites. We have broken down foams and fibers, pesticides, mold spores, pollen, bacteria, endotoxins, and mycotoxins. That's typically what we find inside of the indoor in the dust. So if you're going through your house and you see dust on there, that's typically what's in your dust. That's what dust is made up of. So keeping your home clean, reducing that dust, also implementing air filtration, making sure you have a good air filter installed, a standalone unit, making sure the HVAC system has a good filter, run that thing on all the time. And then we have the gases. We have the off-gassing, the VOC, the chemicals. If you have a brand new home, I have a lot of clients that call me up. I just moved in this new home and then we're all sick. We got headaches, and I go in there and they didn't use healthy paint, the flooring and the carpet and the cabinetry. It's all off-gassing. They're just breathing that stuff in, and they're locked in closed box. So we got the chemicals, the particulates, all the mold byproducts, the dust, fresh air. Those are all important.
Wow. I mean, happy hustlers. We're not trying to scare you, but you need to be aware of this stuff. It's like, this is what's happening in your home. This is what is affecting your health, your performance, your energy, your testosterone, your estrogen, your hormones, and your overall life. So you have to be diligent and protect yourself. And that leads us to Test My Home. And Ryan, I do want to hear, how the heck did you even start this company, and give the people a little background about how Test My Home can actually counteract those big 4, the EMFs, the mold, the chemicals in the air?
Sure, yeah. So I found in doing this work, we got 3 types of people we're dealing with. We got your worriers, right? The worriers are going to be the people that's the moms with a couple kids. They're worried about the homes. Do we have mold? Do we have chemical? What's going on? Then we have our sufferers. The sufferers are the people that are already sick. They've waited too long. They haven't addressed the issue. They got mold buildup. They got heavy metal buildup, gas poisoning, carbon monoxide poisoning maybe, which all about. And then the last category is you got the warriors. And that's kind of the category where I'm in. The warriors, those are the people that want to live forever. We want to live to be 200 years old. We want to be as healthy as possible. We want our brains to work top notch all the time. We want to be thinking of new ideas. We want to be efficient. We want to be able to play with our kids, spend quality time with our wives. We want to have everything in life that we can. And so that's kind of, my background is electromagnetic engineering. And when I first got my degree back in my 20s, we had a company where we designed and built nightclubs, the environment part of the nightclubs, the stimulating part of the specific types of lighting and specific types of times of the day and at night, and video to stimulate, and the acoustics, the layout. We got really good at really stimulating the environment, but I learned there's like a dark side to the environment as well. It's the side that can harm and damage us. And it's when I started to get sick, not feeling well, and I'm pretty sensitive to EMF, and it took me years to figure out what it was. And it finally clicked one time. We go down to Lake Powell a lot. I don't know if anybody's ever been there. You go back in the canyons, there's no cell service. There's hardly any radio station. It's about 0 EMF as you can get. I was getting up at 4 in the morning, skiing, surfing all day, and staying up till midnight. I wasn't even eating that great, but I had tons of energy. We were coming up with great ideas, being productive, and we thought of business concepts there. And then I come home, as soon as I get back into my office with all my technology and the fluorescent lights, I just feel like crap. I'm like, what is this? And finally, it hit me. It's got to be this EMF. So I actually went up into the White Clouds, into the mountains of Idaho, and I spent 30 days up there, just living off the land. And by the end of that 30 days, I felt better than I'd ever felt in my life. And when I went up there, I was sick. I did not feel good. And I just got away from all of the synthetic things in our environment, the synthetic food, the synthetic lighting, the synthetic building materials, all the EMF. And so when I got back, I'm like, okay, we're going to create a business. We're going to create something that can actually help the world, because there's so many people out there that don't understand the interaction between the body and the environment. And the environment has such a big impact on our bodies that it's so important that we address that. And so that's where Test My Home was born. And we've been working on it the last 5 years we've been in business. But I'd say 5 or 6 years before that, I was working in different industries to learn about it. Took a job at Department of Environmental Quality, learning all about air, did mold remediation. I worked for DOE at the nuclear facility, Idaho Waste Cleanup Project, learning about all of the ins and outs of these projects. And one thing that I learned that was kind of scary is that the government's actually not looking out for us. And I think a lot of people already know that, but most people assume, oh, the air is good, the government would never allow anything to go in the air that we could breathe in, or our water is completely safe, they would never put anything in there. And this stuff is just simply not true. And we need to look out for ourselves. It's very important that we take the initiative and really look out for ourselves and our families. So that's why we created Test My Home.
Testmyhome.com, guys. I mean, you really owe it to yourself and your family to get a handle on this stuff and really go deep and address it. I mean, the first step to any change is awareness, right? You got to know truly what the heck's going on. The same thing, I have a framework with the Happy Hustlers. Most of them know it if you've been listening to the show at all. If not, welcome. But the 10 alignments of being a happy hustler, that's how you go from burnout to blissful balance, both personally and professionally. And the first step is awareness. You got to test. You have to actually know, where are you out of balance in your life? Now, this is very similar in that approach. You have to first test. You have to address, what's going wrong. Where is, the issues in my environment. And I know you have something super cool coming out with Test My Home that will be a scalable way to basically self-quantify these issues with your home. Tell us a little bit about that, because I know you also have a physical service-based company where, if you're in an area that you service, you actually will send you or your team to their homes. You'll do a full test. But for the happy hustlers listening who maybe aren't in that area, I know it's like Utah and Idaho and some of these other, regions. Where can people go and what can people do to protect themselves on an individual level?
Yeah, no, we've been so successful because we've been helping so many people and changing lives, and we're just so busy right now. We're trying to figure out how can we scale this. So we're creating this in-home testing protocol. It's going to combine some videos. We send you out the kit. You can set up some of these tests. You can measure in your home. We send it to the lab, and you get online with a coach, some calls with me, and we just kind of walk you through everything in the home of what's causing your issues and how to fix it. So, you can go to testmyhome.com. There'll be a tab there, free, and you can click on that button. We start you off with 21 free tips that you can implement in your home right now, today, that are free, that are easy, that are going to make a big impact in your life. And from there, we'll put you on the list. So when these in-home testing kits come out, you guys can be the first ones in on it.
Oh, I love it. Guys, take action on this. Go to testmyhome.com/free and get the free 21 healthy home tips and actually go through them. And then when those in-home testing protocols do come out, which I think they're coming out, you mentioned early 2023. At the time of this recording, we're Q4 of 2022. But this is something that you should 100% take action on. And I think we do have a little discount. If you mention Carrie at the time of checkout, CARY, you'll get a little discount off 5 or 10%. We haven't nailed that down yet, but you'll get something. So if you want to take action on this, first and foremost, go to testmyhome.com/free. And then when those healthy home protocols, I know I mentioned to Ryan, I said, Ryan, I got to be on the beta of these bad boys because I want to make sure everything's nailed down and ironclad and that my environment's optimized so I can happy hustle, my best life and serve at a a greater capacity. And he's like, yeah, for sure, we'll get you on, because he doesn't service my area in Montana. And that's, something that you guys just need to do. You need to take this matters into your own hands and really start to just be deliberate with your environment. Now, you did mention water, Ryan, and I do want to talk about water, because this is something that, I even found arsenic in my water at my last ranch home. And it was like, it's common out in some areas of Montana. There's also heavy lead and like heavy metals in your water. Talk to us about the biggest issues with water and how they negatively affect us.
Yeah, and I'm going to lump in radon with that too, radon gas, because these are things that we don't really know until it's too late. When we start accumulating lead and mercury and heavy metals in the body and they get into the brain, we just start getting dumber and dumber and dumber and brain fog and fatigue, until one day we're just so toxic overloaded, we're just not ourselves anymore. And then we go in and get heavy metal tested. Oh, found out for the last 20 years we've been drinking water that has lead in it. Or we've been breathing in radon that's coming up out of the ground. And now all of a sudden we got lung cancer for no reason. We never smoked a cigarette in our life. Now we got lung cancer. So these things are simple, easy tests that we can do right now that are going to prevent some major, major issues down the road.
Yeah.
And we sell water. Yeah, we sell water test kits online right now. So on our website, you can go to Test My Home, go to Shop, then go to Water. And we have a whole range of different test kits that we ship directly to you. You fill up the little vial, put it in the mail. Within a week, you get your results back. Pretty easy, a couple $100.
Oh, yeah. Money well spent. I'll tell you, like, what percentage of we are water, like our bodies, aren't we like over 70% water, something like that?
Mostly water, yeah. And I can tell you, there's not very many water tests that I've done that we haven't found something in there.
Yeah,
that's harmful.
I bet. I mean, guys, we just care about you. We want you to optimize your environment and ultimately your health. I know this stuff is near and dear to my own, life and my own issues that I've suffered from. Like Ryan mentioned, I had carbon monoxide poisoning recently in April of 2022. I almost died. Literally passed out unconscious, gashed my head open. My sister and brother were both in the house. My sister passed out unconscious. My dog actually woke me up and saved my life. We had, I had like 16.9% carbon monoxide in my bloodstream, which 20% is technically the lethal dose. So I was very close to not being here right now. And it's all because we didn't have the proper safety protocols in the house, and there was a gas leak. Next thing you know, 5 days of leaky pipes, and it's odorless, it's tasteless, it's colorless. Like some of these toxins, some of these chemicals, specifically carbon monoxide, that's why they call it, the lethal silent killer. And it's because you just don't know until it's too late. So decide what category you want to be in. Do you want to be a worrier, a sufferer, or a warrior? And I like those three categories. I love to, I consider myself a peaceful warrior. Long story with that, but I got it tattooed on either bicep, peaceful and then warrior. And I think this is one, thing that we should all really tap into our warrior and really take control of our lives. Do you agree? Yeah, totally. And something I want to mention about the CO2 and a lot of these other toxins that a lot of people don't notice until it gets to the point where it either almost kills them or they become chronically ill. But like carbon monoxide, for example, it's deadly around 500 parts per million, 550 parts per million is when you're dead. A lot of the meters and the sensors that you have in your home will go off around 400. They don't set them any lower than that because they don't want them going off every Thanksgiving when everyone's cooking and fire trucks getting called every time the sensors go off. But carbon monoxide is harmful and toxic all the way down to 5 parts per million. So you could, in your example, let's say the leak wasn't as severe as it was just a little bit less, to the point where you weren't passing out, you weren't feeling really any immediate symptoms. Just every time you were there, you were fatigued, or every time you're there, you were brain fog, or every time you're there, you just didn't feel well. And you just didn't know what it was. And it could have been simple as it was a small carbon monoxide leak that was building up, getting worse and worse and worse. So a lot of these environmental toxins at the low levels are just eating away at our well-being to where you're not 100% anymore. You're not thinking clearly like you could be. You're not sick, you're not dying, but you're not as
optimal as you could be. And so it's important to test this stuff to make sure that none of this stuff is low level in the background, just eating away at you, making you fatigued, making you brain fog. Yep.
Yeah. So well said. I mean, and for the happy hustlers out there who don't know, I ran a biohacking company for about 3 years. You know, we were serving Fortune 500 execs and Olympic gold medal athletes and soccer moms and everyone in between. But we had this mentality of test, don't guess. And it was first things first when we were serving these high profile clients was, hey, let's identify the environmental genetic mismatches, the vitamin and mineral deficiencies, and the toxins. Those 3 things, the toxins that are holding you back from your optimal self. And again, we're not trying to scare you, but we just want to bring this stuff to your awareness because odds are water, EMFs, mold, air, chemicals, one or all of those 5, toxic contributors are affecting you negatively. And in order to actually grow, you need to know. This is something that Ryan has, built an entire existence around helping people. And if you want to dive deeper, first and foremost, go to testmyhome.com/free and just pick up that 21 healthy home tips and just get on the list so that when these protocols do come out, you can be the first ones to know about it. And this is something like, if you're not doing it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for your kids, do it for, the people you care most about, because, this is affecting them and it's affecting all of us. So Ryan, man, this has been some powerful stuff. I mean, do you have a call to action to anyone out there listening? Like anything, if we could just tie all this up into a clean, succinct, call to action, will you, that you could give to the happy hustlers before we get into some of the happy hustle hacks questions?
Sure. Yeah. If you, the best way to really know if the environment's impacting you all is go somewhere out in nature for a while. This time you're starting to get a little colder, but if you can go spend some time up in somewhere, get away from your home for a little bit and notice how you feel. See if you feel better. See if your brain fog, your anxiety, the irritability, fatigue, see if any of that stuff changes, respiratory issues, whatever ailments you're dealing with, or maybe not dealing with, just kind of be conscious of that. Or you can do what we call digital detox weekend, where you turn off all the electronics in your house, you turn off all the circuits to your bedroom, you put your phone on airplane mode, you get the board games out, you pitch a tent in the front yard in the living room with the kids, get the flashlights out, and see if you notice a difference. And when people actually do that, they come back like, wow, I had no idea this stuff was affecting me this much. They didn't think anything was wrong. But then once they took it away, it's like a cloud lifted from them. And they're like, holy crap, this is amazing. How do I get this all the time? And then that's when we dive in deep of how do we transform your home into a true healing sanctuary?
Yeah, so well said. I love the digital detox. I actually do regular dopamine detoxes, where I disconnect from social media, YouTube, TV, streaming shows, all the things. And I was very religious about unplugging my Wi-Fi, my routers. I used to have Ethernet cords. Blue light blocking glasses are also really important. But like this stuff matters, guys. Take ownership. Take accountability. And you mentioned, just like how to create a sanctuary for healing. And I know sleep is just a really big component. Before we move into those happy hustle hack questions, just talk to us briefly about sleep and some of the things that you recommend to optimizing sleep.
Yeah, you need to be intentional about the design of your bedroom, and the bedroom is for sleeping and adult time, and that's it. And you should design your room with those 2 things in mind. No technology in there, no working stuff in there. You don't have arguments with your spouse in the bedroom. You don't watch TV. You don't work on things. It's strictly those 2 things, and you don't have anything else in the room. If you can charge your phone in the bathroom or out in the kitchen, no technology in the bedroom. That's a really important one.
And also pillows. I heard you talk about pillows. Tell us like some of the cautionary tales when it comes to pillows.
Yeah, because your face is right next to it all night long, 8 hours of the day. We're sweating. dust mites, all kinds of nasty things gather in pillows. They say a pillow over a year to 2 old can have up to 30% of dead skin cells and dust mites inside the pillow. So for the little small investment of something that's right next to your face for so long, get a new pillow every couple months and get a nice organic one with some nice organic sheets and pillowcases, and invest in that. It's worth every penny.
So well said. Just in terms of like pets, like I gotta ask, I mean, I let my dog come up on bed after he's rolling around in horse shit, and I know that's probably not, like, he doesn't sleep up there, but I love him so much. I'm like, get your ass up here, just come snuggle. You know, what do you recommend when it comes to pets?
Yeah, I mean, I'm never, that's a tough one. Pets are definitely more dirty, so you have to be more diligent about keeping your house clean when you have pets in your house, for sure. But they bring a lot of joy and happiness as well, and we don't want to discount that. But you do need to maintain your cleanliness of your home. Clean your sheets more often if the dog's sleeping with you in your bed, and just maintain that cleanliness is all.
Yes. Very PC answer. I love it, Ryan. And just, you mentioned adult time. What do you mean? Are you talking intimacy? Talking intercourse?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
That's
yes.
an important part of the bedroom there. Yes.
Yes, sir. All right. Amen. Guys, this has been phenomenal. Ryan, you are the man. I really appreciate your mission and message behind it. Let's transition just to some of these traditional happy hustle hacks questions. I like to just ask my guests like a couple questions in a couple disciplines. First being health. You mentioned a ton of health tips, but I'm curious, what is something unique that you do in regards to health? Maybe a tip, a tool, a tactic that you can share with the happy hustlers.
Yeah. So in my office right now, I have an old school landline with a cord. Telephone.
Nice.
I do not use my cell phone in my house. I make all of my phone calls on landline. My laptop is hardwired. I have no Wi-Fi in my house at all. All of my devices are hardwired. I do turn off the circuits to my bedroom at night. In fact, I have it wired to a remote control. So I hit a remote and it goes to a relay bank, which powers down the whole side of my house. My kids' side of the house also turns off at 9 o'clock on a timered relay. I use HEPA air filtration. And I leave my HVAC system on. I got a MERV 13 filter. I have HRV that brings in fresh filtered air into my house constantly and exhausts stale air out. All solid surfaces in my floor. We do it regular deep cleaning once a week with a cleaning crew that comes in. Optimal cleanliness. So that's kind of how I treat the environment in my house.
Wow, just those little things there. Where can people go? Is that on that list of like 21 healthy home tips, that free PDF, some of those stuff you mentioned?
Some of that stuff, yeah. Some of that stuff's not free. Some of that stuff took some time and some effort and some money getting those things in place.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, do you have, like, if someone wanted to get a relay system in their home to turn it off, do you have recommendations online on your website or?
No, nothing like that. That would be more book a consultation and we address the situation, what's going on. There's a specialty team that I work with that they can go, depending on where you're at in the country, go out and then set those kind of things up for you.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, guys, you heard some of the stuff Ryan's doing. Rewind this and do it for yourself. This is stuff we would do with biohacking clients too. And we would really go through with a fine-tooth comb and address all these different things. And it makes a big difference. Now let's talk about money. I think it's really important to talk about money. You know, it's a tool, it's a frequency. It makes you more of who you are. Do you have like a happy hustle hack, that you do something maybe that you do to save or invest or spend wisely that you can share with the happy hustlers when it comes to money?
Nothing specific as far as that. A year ago I would have said crypto, but that's obviously not been well for a lot of people over the last 6 months. My biggest, I know that's a tough one.
Sounds like someone lost some money in the crypto market, right?
Maybe a little bit there. My biggest thing is making sure that I'm not around technology a lot and thinking clearly. And if I'm pondering something or a business decision or I'm stuck growing my business, I'll go hike up in the mountains or I'll go out a bike ride. I'll go out in the park. I'll get away from everything for a while. And it doesn't take long till the answer starts to come to me. It's when I get away from all the fuzzy background stuff going on, and not just electronics, but maybe kids and home stuff and just all the things in life. Just go out for a while, out in nature. And it seems every single time the answer I need comes to me.
Love that. I mean, that's truly why we do the Montana Mastermind Epic Camping Adventures, just to get out of nature with these high-performing entrepreneurs who rarely disconnect fully and just tap into our primal sense and truly our intuition. That's what comes through. And my good buddy Colin O'Brady has something he recommends called the 12-hour walk. He's a 10 times, world record holder. He did a solo crossing of the Antarctic, of Antarctica, and he recommends just going on a 12-hour walk. And I was like, that's genius. Just do it. No phone, no one else, just like outside in nature. So yeah, that's good for your money, guys, because that's how you actually make more of it, when you could tap in to your real intuition and some of those things that you know in your gut to be true. Now, let's talk about spirituality. I think, again, it's really important to have some type of faith in something bigger than yourself. I don't care if you believe in one God or another, but I just believe in having a higher power. Do you have a spiritual happy hustle hack, something that you do, be it meditation or breath work or anything in that realm that you could share with the happy hustlers?
I mean, I think it's important to sleep well at night and to know that you're making the world a better place with your actions. And when you come across business decisions again, where it's like, hey, we have these paths, what path? If you take the path where you're going to make the most positive impact on other people's lives and also yourselves and your family's lives, if you can take that path, even though it might not be the best for money making, in the long run, you're going to be better off. It's going to benefit you more. I think it's really important to have a clear conscience moving through life and moving through business. And a lot of times, sometimes these days in life, it's hard to find that in the business world. But if you could, at least for me, I try to keep that as my grounding principle. And I seem to do pretty good with that.
Yeah, love it. Amen, brother. Now, I do want to put you through the rapid fire round, and then we'll wrap this interview up. This is basically where I ask you random things and you answer honestly. First thing that comes to mind. Are you ready, Ryan?
Yes.
All right. Favorite food? Go.
Tacos.
Favorite movie?
What the bleep do we know? Down the rabbit hole.
Nice. Favorite book?
Ray Dalio Principles.
Ooh, that's a good one. What's your spirit animal, Ryan?
Monkey.
I can see it. Best business advice?
Keep it simple.
There you go. 3 things you're most grateful for?
My health, my family, and my friends.
And if you had one billboard for the world to see with your last piece of content on it, what's that billboard read, Ryan?
Quit being such idiots and get along with each other.
I thought you were going to say test your home, but that's even better. Love it. Ryan, you crushed that rapid fire round, brother. And man, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom with myself and the Happy Hustlers. And, just for showing up in the world as you are, helping people truly take control of their health and their home and their environment and just optimizing health. Like what you're doing is making a difference. I know you really helped multiple friends of ours, mutual friends, with their homes. And I know you're helping a ton more with what you're doing. I just acknowledge you, man, for doing the work you're doing and for helping people become better versions of themselves in the process. So thank you, man.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on and using your resources to share this information. I think more people need to know about this stuff, so thank you.
Yeah, brother, for sure. Now, give the people one last link or place where they can find more out about you. I know you have an Instagram where you give a lot of healthy tips and stuff like that. Mention those places, and then just any final thoughts before I ask you the last question.
Yeah, Instagram, at Test My Home. A lot of good stuff on there, a lot of free stuff. Follow us on there. Facebook, our website, Test My Home, /free. And, You can fill out the client intake form. You can get in the system. We'll keep you updated on stuff that's going on. Free, easy tips get sent out. Yeah, that's really the main thing. And then, just the biggest takeaway is don't stress on this stuff. Do what you can. Like you mentioned earlier, this isn't meant to be about fear. This is meant to be about empowerment, about how to make your life a better a life for you and your family, so you can be more productive and you can live a happier life.
Love it. Now, last question, Ryan. What does happy hustling mean to you?
Happy hustling means enjoying what you do, 100%. If you're not enjoying what you're doing and it doesn't make you happy, it doesn't bring you joy, you need to find something else you're doing. You got to look forward. When you get up in the morning, you need to be excited to get out of bed. And if you're not doing that, you need to change what you're doing because life's too short.
Oh, amen. Ryan Blaser, y'all. Thanks for watching and listening. We are out. Peace and love, everyone.